6858 today. Spectrum Business, made to work.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
I'm Mary Lee Melendez. Here's your Spectrum News in 90.
I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
Vice President Kamala Harris defending her policy shifts in her first interview as the Democratic nominee. Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, spoke with CNN for nearly 30 minutes last night. She discussed her changing position on fracking and border security. The vice president mostly sidestepped a question about her Republican opponent questioning her race. Former President Donald Trump also making headlines this morning. He said Florida's 6-week abortion ban is too short, suggesting he might support a ballot measure expanding access. But his campaign quickly walked back the comments. Trump is also promising universal IVF coverage. A cringeworthy discovery at a Boar's Head plant linked to a deadly listeria outbreak. Food safety inspectors found bugs, mold, and mildew at a factory in Virginia. 69 violations over the past year. The company recalled more than 7 million pounds of meat after 57 hospitalizations, 9 deaths. Labor Day travel kicking into high gear. The TSA says it expects to screen a record-breaking 17 million passengers through next Wednesday. Those are your headlines. Now here's a look at your weather on the ones.
Happy Friday, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. We made it to the end of a hot week with record-breaking temperatures, heat advisories, excessive heat warnings in place. And we have more record-breaking temperatures in store for us across the Tennessee Valley later today as highs get into the upper 90s, nearing the triple digits. Staying pretty comfortable, though, across the Northeast and the Northwest for the time being. We're heating up big time out west as we get towards this holiday weekend, along with the risk for some severe thunderstorms moving into the Northeast. I'll have more details on that coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones.
Good morning. Thanks for joining us on Spectrum News. I'm Mary Lee Melendez in for Bree Driscoll. Today is Friday, August 30th. We begin with the presidential race and Kamala Harris's first interview since becoming the Democratic nominee. The vice president was in the hot seat for 27 minutes answering questions about changing policy positions while pledging to appoint a Republican to her new cabinet. Her opponent, former President Donald Trump, made some news of his own last night on IVF treatments and abortion. More on his comments in just a moment. But first, Spectrum's Cassie Simeon is following the latest on the Harris campaign. She begins our team coverage from Savannah, Georgia.
With less than 70 days to go until Election Day, Vice President Kamala Harris is doubling down that she is ready to do the job.
The true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up.
In a wide-ranging interview, the Democratic nominee covered a number of topics, including who she could include in her cabinet.
Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse.
And accusations that she has flip-flopped on positions such as fracking and the border.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here, in your policy?
My values have not changed.
Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, also fending off questions about his history of serving in the military.
I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. My record speaks for itself.
Harris is now less than 2 weeks away from her first toe-to-toe meeting with former President Donald Trump, whom she's never met before. But Harris says she's ready to face Trump on the debate stage in Philadelphia and criticized the former president for his comments made at the National Association of Black Journalists conference last month about her race.
You suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah. Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Harris is now preparing for a major Labor Day campaign swing through the battleground states of Michigan and Pennsylvania as she continues to prepare for her debate face-off with Trump on September 10th. In Savannah, Georgia, Cassie Simeon, Spectrum News.
Former President Donald Trump criticizing the Harris-Walz interview. He's also taking a more centrist stance on reproductive freedom. Spectrum's Angie Gonzalez has more.
Former President Donald Trump fired off a series of posts on his social media platform with his assessment of Vice President Kamala Harris's CNN interview. In one, he simply wrote boring, and then reposting a message from his campaign which broke down her comments second by second on issues of crime, the economy, and immigration.
And now she's saying, oh, we want to build a strong border. Where has she been for 3.5 years?
During a stop in Michigan, Trump made an announcement saying that if elected, he wants to make IVF fertility treatments free for women, suggesting that either the government or health insurance companies pick up the tab. In an interview on NBC, he also answered questions on how he plans to vote on a Florida ballot measure that would repeal the state's 6-week abortion ban implemented by Republican Governor Ron DeSantis.
Well, I think the 6 week is too short. It has to be more time, and so and I've told them that I want more weeks. I am going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks.
Later, Trump's campaign sought to clarify his answer, saying Trump has not yet said how he will vote on the ballot initiative in Florida. His statements, however, come as Democrats continue to highlight his role in appointing Supreme Court justices who overturned a woman's federal right to an abortion.
The vice president looks forward to having a substantive conversation with him about why he continues to rip away freedoms from people in this country.
The Harris campaign has announced a new bus tour where surrogates are going to be talking about protecting women's reproductive rights during 50 stops across the country. It'll kick off in Trump's backyard of Palm Beach, Florida. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez, Spectrum News.
As Trump hits the campaign trail, his lawyers are trying to move his hush money case to federal court. Trump's defense team says his constitutional rights were violated, alleging bias when he was convicted in a New York court of falsifying records to cover up a sex scandal. But it may be a long shot request because the judge making the decision rejected a previous motion to move the case. The former president is trying to delay his September 18th sentencing, which is 7 weeks before Election Day. The rules are now set for the next debate between Trump and Harris. ABC says there will be no audience. Mics will be muted when the candidates are not speaking, and there will be no written notes. The rules for the September 10th showdown are similar to the last debate, which was between Trump and Biden, which did lead to the president dropping out of the race. Spectrum News will have coverage and analysis of the debate. And for more news from the campaign trail, watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis tonight at 7:30 Eastern. Happening now, the unofficial end of summer is here and that Labor Day travel well underway. According to TSA, 17 million travelers will be screened at America's airports through September 4th. AAA also predicting a busy weekend on the roads thanks to a dip in gas prices. Now, according to AAA, domestic travel this weekend is expected to be up 9% over last year. Whether traveling or relaxing, millions of Americans are keeping a close eye on the weather. Meteorologist Ramel Carpenter is here now. Ramel, how's that holiday forecast shaping up?
Shaping up pretty nicely for some, but if you live along the Gulf Coast, it's not going to be a great weekend by any means. We have a risk for some severe thunderstorms as well as we head into the Northeast by the time we get into Saturday, and we're still dealing with some more heat as we kick off this holiday weekend. So if you're making plans to travel via air, we aren't expecting any significant delays or anything of that matter, but maybe 1 or 2 minor delays here and there once we get into Saturday and Sunday as our cold front begins to work its way off to the north and east. But overall, though, the weekend forecast is going to be pretty nice from the northern plains into the northwest as our temperatures heat up, staying pretty dry, and we're going to keep some chances for showers and storms for Saturday and Sunday, but Labor Day Monday is looking pretty good and much cooler for most of the northeast and the central plains as we head into next week.
All right, good weekend for some grilling. Ramel, thank you. Coming up on Spectrum News, insects, mold, and pools of blood. A disturbing discovery at a Boar's Head meat plant, sparking new questions about a deadly listeria outbreak.
Here's the deal. In this election year, people need a place to explore national issues that have an impact on their community. To understand those issues better, we're bringing together our team of local political journalists from across the country to break down what's happening. So join us every week to catch up on the key stories making a big difference across the nation and in your local community.
Watch The Big Deal with Errol Lewis Friday nights at 9 Eastern, 8 Central on Spectrum News Plus. Available on all of your favorite devices exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, we know that internet is a vital tool to help you fulfill your dreams.
My dream is to become a video game developer.
My dream is to get my online college degree. That's why Spectrum has affordable solutions to keep you connected. At Spectrum, we are committed to delivering reliable, affordable internet and unlimited mobile to keep you connected to what matters most to you.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with you on this Friday morning. We're tracking a slow-moving cold front as we head into this Labor Day weekend, which is going to bring us a risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms. Slight risk for severe weather through eastern Michigan, low-level threat through the Ohio Valley, down towards North Carolina, parts of Virginia later today. And as we get into Saturday afternoon, we're going to see that same slight risk start to work its way into the northeast, across New York, into Pennsylvania, through the Virginias, the D.C. area also under that risk for Saturday afternoon and evening. And then as we get into Sunday, especially towards the end of the day, the front's going to finally push offshore, still keeping a low-level threat for severe weather from Maine all the way down the East Coast into the Carolinas as well. Damaging winds and some hail are going to be the primary concerns. We're not looking at a tornado threat or anything of that matter, but if you're planning to hit the roads, especially along the Gulf Coast, unfortunately going to be an unsettled weekend across Louisiana, portions of eastern Texas, down towards Mississippi, as well as an area of low pressure tracks to the west. Here's our cold front, 8-9 o'clock, stretching from eastern Michigan all the way through Illinois, portions of Missouri, seeing some heavier downpours as well, and that risk will start to work its way into the northeast heading into Saturday afternoon. This is 4 o'clock, a pretty strong line of thunderstorms from central New York into central Pennsylvania as well. Again, damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour will be a bit of a concern. So make sure you've got the Spectrum News app downloaded. You can use a live interactive radar to plan out your day if you're making plans to fire up the grill or hit the pools. There will be some dry time, but we are going to be unsettled throughout the afternoon and the evening hours. I think our rain chances start to decrease significantly with the exception of the Gulf Coast once we get towards Sunday and especially into Monday as that front begins to push further and further east. So a pretty nice weekend across the northern plains into northwest for Labor Day weekend. Not so great across the Gulf Coast, though, for that matter. And if you are making plans to travel via air, we're not expecting any major delays, but along the Gulf Coast, some of those downpours could cause some minor delays here and there. But as we get into the weekend, we are tracking some cooler weather as well. We'll have more details on that coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones.
If you're just joining us or maybe heading out the door, here's a look at what you need to know. Vice President Kamala Harris defending her policy shifts in her first interview as the Democratic nominee. Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, spoke with CNN for nearly 30 minutes last night. She discussed her changing position on fracking and border security, while Walz said his military record speaks for itself. Former President Donald Trump says Florida's 6-week abortion ban is too short, suggesting he might support a ballot measure expanding access. But his campaign quickly walked back the comments, saying he has yet to decide how he'll vote on the measure. Israel agreeing to a series of pauses to permit youth polio vaccines in Gaza. Officials say the pause would start this Sunday and would be split into 3-day phases. Since the war, Gaza's vaccine coverage has dropped 80%, triggering an outbreak. And that's what you need to know this morning. New information on a story we've been following. A disturbing discovery at a Boar's Head plant in Virginia tied to a deadly listeria outbreak. As Spectrum News anchor Jenna Enoch explains, inspectors found bugs, mold, and much more.
This is the Boar's Head plant in Jarrett, Virginia, where millions of pounds of deli meat is processed every day. But what health inspectors found inside is turning stomachs.
Same. People losing lives for nothing.
Investigators say some of the deli meat from this processing plant was tainted with listeria, leading to the nation's largest outbreak in more than a decade. The Department of Agriculture reports 69 violations at the facility over the past year. Inspectors found mold and mildew, insects, both dead and alive, and puddles of blood on the floor.
They've been round the clock working, I guess, trying to fix it up and settle the problem, but it shouldn't have been a problem to begin with.
While test results at the time did not confirm listeria at the factory, the bacteria is known to thrive on floors, walls, and drains. Boar's Head recalled more than 7 million pounds of its meat, primarily liverwurst, but also ham, sausage, bologna, hot dogs, and bacon. According to the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, at least 9 people have died from the contaminated meat, and at least 57 people have been hospitalized in 18 states. Right now, the company has paused its production at the Virginia plant, releasing a statement that said, quote, "We deeply regret the impact this recall has had on affected families," end quote. Consumers are urged to check their refrigerators for any Boar's Head deli meat and throw it away, while some shoppers are just avoiding it altogether.
Actually, we replaced it with some good premium meat.
Jenna Enoch, Spectrum News.
An update now on a story we told you about earlier this week. A car seat goes up in flames because of a battery in a book. Now, for the first time, we're hearing from the parents who witnessed it. Spectrum's Rose Eckler introduces us to the family who's now urging others to be alert.
A family glad to be standing together, safe.
Say hello.
After a scary situation on Sunday after church. Her daughter's laughter. She says it's a blessing. A blessing because she wasn't in this. Destiny Williams says she and her daughter had just returned home from church and went inside when a neighbor told her her van was smoking.
What happened? How did it happen?
Inside, her car seat covered in flames. Her uncle put the fire out, and this is what they saw.
All of it's really gone right here. I mean, majority of it that people can see and everybody can see, it's melted. There's no car seat there.
She didn't know what happened, but the fire department later said the fire marshal found it to be caused by a button battery in this Cocomelon book that was located under the car seat.
So normally there would be a seat here that the child sits on. The books were underneath that seat and out on the base. I use this as a bookshelf or a toy shelf, but originally there was 3 books there.
Sections of the car seat are melted away.
It's a book. It's just another book that just makes sounds.
The seat gone. A reminder of how fast it all happened.
She's my world. And also so blessed she wasn't in the car seat.
Which is why her father says they are doing this interview to remind others that this can happen.
No child would have made it through that alive if a child was sitting in that car seat.
And to remove all toys or books with batteries from your vehicle. Because like George Hildebrand Fire Chief Bobby Craig says, their job is getting more difficult when fires are caused by batteries.
Many types are harder to put out than before. Keynote would be to try to keep batteries cool.
But they are just thankful that this little girl is unharmed and hope their experience helps to keep others safe in the future.
That could have happened to anybody.
Rose Eckler, Spectrum News.
On people's faces, Crocs, crazy.
Faces?
Yeah, the principal had to come talk to me.
Not the principal. Celebrating in style. Just ahead, the Little League champs visit the happiest place on earth.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Give me one good reason why I shouldn't switch to Spectrum Enterprise.
Well, you said our services meet some of your technology needs.
But not all.
Well, maybe you have too many.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Look, I'm switching to Spectrum Enterprise because they'll be a true partner, and I can't run this network without one.
I think you can.
Our clients do it all the time.
Demand better. And when they call you unreasonable, call us.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/actnow.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Good Friday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter. It's been a hot week across the lower 48, and as we head into this holiday weekend, we still have some more heat and humidity to get through across a few spots in the lower 48. But the heat's going to start to work its way out west, and we have some heat alerts in place from Idaho, portions of Washington and Oregon, and even still across the St. Louis area for the fourth day in a row. It's been a hot week across St. Louis with more heat advisories. West Virginia and parts of Ohio also getting in on the action, but not nearly the same amount of heat alerts that we had in place earlier in the week. And despite that, we still have some more potential record-breaking temperatures in store for us throughout the day today. We're going to be in the middle and upper 90s from Nashville into Indianapolis, Indiana. And some of these records date back to the 1950s and 1960s. So we'll be curious to see as we get into the afternoon how hot these temperatures get across those locations. And we are forecasted to get into the upper 90s across the Louisville region and the St. Louis, low 90s in the Atlanta region, mid 90s up towards Raleigh, with some of those thunderstorms developing later in the afternoon and evening. And up north, still relatively comfortable, upper 60s, low 70s from Portland, Maine into New York City. And we're going to see those temperatures warm up just a little bit as that cold front begins to work its way to the east. Upper 70s by Saturday in New York, good chance for some showers and thunderstorms. And then across the northern plains, we're going to see that area of high pressure building in behind that cold front, setting us up for a pretty nice end to the holiday weekend. So 3-day forecast for Kansas City as we head into this holiday weekend, mid 80s for Saturday and Sunday. And take a look at that, upper 70s for Labor Day Monday. That is going to be pretty nice. Make plans to get outside, fire up the grill, if you will. And as we get towards Florida, though, Orlando specifically, low 90s, a good chance for some scattered showers and thunderstorms each afternoon. Unfortunately, just staying pretty unsettled this holiday weekend across Florida and along the Gulf Coast for that matter as well. But good news is, if you live across the Northeast through the portions of Southeast and the Midwest, we're going to see a significant cool down on the way as we get towards next week. Once we get past Labor Day, should see those temperatures drop down significantly. Across the West Coast, though, we are heating up big time and then staying pretty warm and muggy along the Gulf Coast and down towards Florida. And speaking of the coast, we do have some activity brewing in the tropics as we get closer to that peak of hurricane season. We're watching two systems, one in orange with medium chances for tropical development as it continues to work its way to the west, and a system trailing right behind it as well. The next name on the list is going to be Francine, and we've only had 5 named systems so far this hurricane season. But as we get towards September, that's when we start to approach the peak of hurricane season before the activity winds down as at the close of hurricane season, arriving at the end of November.
An update on the Boeing Starliner that's stranded in space. NASA says the capsule will return to Earth on September 6th. It will leave the International Space Station at 6 p.m. Eastern and touch down in New Mexico about 6 hours later. Now, the Starliner crew will stay at the ISS because of safety concerns. Astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams are expected to return home on the SpaceX Crew Dragon no earlier than February. Let's hear it for the Little League World Champs. They're celebrating with some of Disney's biggest stars. The team took center stage at Disney World Thursday. Spectrum's Devin Martin was there.
These kids are soaking up every moment of their newfound fame. Community support is everywhere you look. With Mickey and his friends next to them, I'm told this is a dream come true.
Being here watching Mickey Mouse sitting there when I was like 5 years old is great that I was on that float.
Jacob Bebo is enjoying this.
A lot. I've signed people's faces, Crocs, crazy.
Faces?
Yeah, the principal had to come talk to me.
Right now, he's the most popular kid in school. And get this, Jacob even has his own private security.
I don't know. I have like bodyguards, but my friends are like my bodyguards holding my bag and they're like making sure I get to class on time.
Moments like this are what every parent dreams of.
It's great, man. I mean, I can't believe these guys did it. They made history, and here we are, man.
And these celebrations are only just getting started.
I mean, this was step one, right? To get to see some Central Florida people or people from all over the world give you some love and show you their support, and we get to give appreciation back. But once we go to Lake Mary and we get all those people from Lake Mary and more of Central Florida to be here to show our appreciation for the support they gave us, it's going to be a good day.
It's not just the boys that have represented Lake Mary. All around the city, support is everywhere. At Flipper's Pizzeria, they're ready to see the hometown heroes.
We saw a lot of the kids had their favorite food is pizza, so we would definitely love to host a party for them now that they're back. We really just can't wait to have the team come out and spend some time with us, celebrate with us.
In Disney World, Devin Martin, Spectrum News.
You may want to keep your eyes peeled for this TSA worker if you're headed to the airport this holiday weekend. This is Barney, a 5-year-old German short-haired pointer. He won TSA's cutest canine for 2024. No surprise. He's worked as a passenger screening canine at the San Francisco International Airport with his handler, Michelle. In his day-to-day, Barney sniffs out explosive materials and looks pretty adorable doing it. Barney came out as top dog after 2 rounds of online voting. And he's got the crown to prove it. And not only is Barney cute, he's a hard worker too. I'm Mary Lee Melendez. Thank you for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
The 2024 election will decide who leads our nation and the balance of power in Congress, impacting all of us. From Capitol Hill to the Oval Office, let Spectrum News be your resource for balanced, in-depth coverage with our dedicated experts in local politics. Strengthening democracy by informing your community. That's our mission. Available on all of your favorite devices, exclusively on Spectrum.
At Spectrum, our workforce of over 100,000 employees are all located right here in the U.S. You can find them in our stores, in the field, and in our call centers with 100% U.S.-based customer service. Our team works hard to provide the towns, cities, and neighborhoods they live in with the reliable services that everyone counts on, making us one of America's most trusted companies. We're Spectrum, creating jobs and opportunities across the country, and proud to be 100% U.S.-based.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back.
To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love
Has No Labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels,
That's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at wesaysaveit.org.